Good morning, Lionhearts. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion. Yep, we're coming to you from Kansas once again today. And what I want to do today is I want to go check out the one and only museum to Buster Keaton here in Piqua, Kansas. I mean, that's at least how you pronounce it in Ohio. It's Piqua, Ohio, so I'm hoping it's Piqua, Kansas. I guess we'll find out when we get there. It's a pretty small town, but one of the greatest slapstick comedians of all time is from there, has his history there, and I want to go see what the only museum to Buster Keaton looks like. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins right now. About a 2-hour drive out there, but I kind of like looking at the nature, so I'm not too bummed. Alright, so also I wanted to tell you guys, I have a little update for you. A lot of times when I vlog things, people say, hey, you know, come back and see me in the future. And when I vlogged the guy who has all of Mae West's items, he was her personal assistant, he moved everything into a storage facility. And last time I called him, I said, hey, can I come out and maybe do another video with you? And he said, oh, everything's packed away in storage. It would be hard to do that. And so we weren't able to do it then. He said, you know, once I move into a new house or something, I'm going to put everything in there and then you can come over and do it. Well, he sent me a link the other day that he is actually having a Julian's auction. They are auctioning off all of Mae West's items, so that will all now be dispersed, unfortunately. He did try, I know, for many years to get it into museums, and a lot of the problems he was having was that the museum would either say, yeah, we'll take it, but they would never guarantee to display the items, or a couple of times when he did loan out items, he could not get them back from the museum. They would not return them, so that was kind of a, you know, something that he just didn't want to do again. And sadly now it looks like he's going to let go of the collection. So if you ever wanted to buy something, check the Julian's website and you can, you know, make a bid online, I'm sure. But unfortunately, yeah, that is all going to be dispersed now. Little small town America for you here. Since we're going to the hometown of Buster Keaton, Old Stone Face, I'll refresh your memory. We've done a few vlogs about him in the past, and how he got his start was his family was in vaudeville, and he got his nickname Buster. That wasn't his birth name, it was actually Joseph, but he became Buster when he fell down a flight of stairs in front of Harry Houdini, who was his dad's business partner, and Harry said, boy, that was a buster, meaning, you know, the fall. And they just started calling him Buster, and that actually became part of the family act, is that the father would throw Buster all over the stage, and Buster would have a stone face expression because he found out that if he laughed, nobody liked the bit, but if he was stone face, everyone loved it, everyone laughed. We are just a few minutes from the museum, and I'm hoping that coming into town they have a billboard acknowledging this was his hometown, because most towns, if there's anything at all that they can be known for, they'll have a billboard, but I don't see anything yet. So as I was rolling into town, I just couldn't believe that I still haven't seen any kind of sign designating this Buster's hometown. So I saw a sign for the town, Piqua or however you pronounce it, and I made a turn and then saw that I made a wrong turn, and as I looped around, I saw this. Check this out. I've done enough vlogging in my life to know that I was guessing that the childhood home was not standing anymore, but I had looked and looked and looked and could not find where his birth home was located in this town. And as I turned around, I noticed this off to the side of the road. What do you know? Buster Keaton's birthplace. Buster's parents, Joseph and Myra Keaton, were appearing in a traveling medicine show with a stock company on a bill which included the later famous magician Harry Houdini. According to the story, Joseph later told in interviews, a cyclone struck Piqua and blew away the performance tent. When he returned to his boarding house after chasing around the countryside looking for the tent, he found his wife had given birth to their first child. Buster Keaton made his first stage appearance when he was just 24 hours old in the Catholic Hall, which was serving as a substitute theater for the evening's performance. When he was 5 years old, the family began touring vaudeville as the Three Keatons. So that's probably what the house looked like. In 1917, Keaton went to Hollywood to begin a career in the movies that lasted until his death in February 1966. Many of Buster Keaton's silent films are today recognized as a classic of the genre. He starred and directed in more than 150 movies and was in 40 television shows. Keaton was known as the Great Stoneface because of his ability to maintain a serious demeanor while performing outrageous comedy routines. So I guess it would have stood right here. The birth of one of the greatest comedians of all time. Now, like I told you when we started the vlog, there's only one museum to Buster Keaton to my knowledge in the world, and we're about to see it. So the actual museum to Buster Keaton is just to the right of that plaque and where the home was. And if you can believe it, it's actually right here in the Rural Water District building. Buster Keaton, one of the greatest comedians of all time, his museum is literally one little room in here. But it's better than nothing. I want to acknowledge the town for, you know, trying. Let's see what's in the museum. I don't know how much you could fit into, you know, just one building for a career like his, but and I'm not sure what the story is with these, but ever since we've entered this county, I'm seeing these all over the buildings out here. Take a look at that. It's actually pretty cool from what I'm seeing already. They have a big celebration here.
Okay.
100th birthday celebration.
Oh, I see,
You ready? Here we go. Take a look at this. Now, like I said, I'm completely blown away and I'm completely shocked that there's only one in the entire country that I know of, and that it's been confined to a room. Now, I'm not complaining that, you know, because I'm glad that there's at least one that exists, but it just kind of tells you how underappreciated maybe he is, especially in Hollywood. You'd think they would have a lot more in Hollywood. So, I'll give you a little brief viewing of what we're going to take a look at, and then we'll dive in. A lot of great mementos and photos, so this should be interesting. Now, one of the great things about Buster Keaton was that he was his own stuntman. Well, until he went to MGM, that was kind of a mistake. But he started out his career in movies with Fatty Arbuckle. He was 19 years old and Fatty was putting him in movies, and they became fast friends. And in fact, later on, when Fatty Arbuckle would be accused of killing that woman in the hotel, Buster Keaton would loan him a lot of money to get by, to help him pay his court costs and to just live on. And they were friends till the end. In fact, when he wasn't able to work, when like Fatty Arbuckle had that scandal going on, when he came out, Buster Keaton was the first person to put him in a movie. All right. So this is from The General, probably one of his most famous movies. There's a lot of really, really interesting scenes where he's on a train and doing stunts on the train, crashing the train. Now, what's interesting is that he actually was in the military, but he never saw combat because he had had a really bad ear infection that destroyed part of his hearing. Now, he married Natalie Talmadge, who was the sister of the Talmadge sisters, Constance and Norma, and he did not really have a great life with her. From all the accounts, she really basically had kids with him, and then she took over the kids, and he always felt like he was treated pretty badly, so that's why they said he would film so often at the studio, because he didn't really like to go home. Now, that pork pie hat, that was pretty much his trademark, and the reason that he wore that was because he was really just trying to distinguish himself on the comedy scene. You know, Charlie Chaplin had the mustache and the cane and the floppy shoes, and Harold Lloyd had the glasses and the straw hat. But Buster had tried the straw hat, but his physicality was too much, and he kept breaking the hat. So he actually got a hat, got like a fedora, and altered it himself. And he would always alter his own hat. So if he made a friend, like I know they have a picture over here I'll show you. He would give those friends one of his homemade hats. There he is in Go West. Just look at him, old stone face. You really do want to laugh. I mean, there's just something about that expression that makes you laugh. I'm not sure what the story is with this costume here. But yeah, his years at MGM were not good. Partially because when he was with, when he had Buster Keaton Pictures comedies, it was actually called Buster Keaton Comedies, he could do anything he wanted, including all of his own stunts, but when he signed with MGM, they put it in the contract that he could not do his own stunts, so. Which was probably a good thing, whether he wants to admit it or not, or wanted to admit it or not, because he had actually broken his back, or broken his neck, doing a stunt, and didn't know it for years. Lived with a broken neck. And that's the movie that he broke it on, Sherlock Jr. Now I mentioned in the vlog that we've done other Buster Keaton vlogs, and if you'd like to see where the Buster Keaton Comedies production facility was, look up Buster Keaton on my channel. You'll not only see where it was, and I'll tell you a lot of the stories behind it, but then you'll see we went back when they put up a mural and a new plaque. They had actually put a plaque down on the wrong side of the street on the wrong corner many years ago. And the fan club, the Damn If I Knows, they decided to put a new one in the proper place last year, and we went and vlogged it. There's an older happy-go-lucky Buster. See, he had made a lot of great comedies, but when the MGM years came, those weren't so stellar, and then he saw many years of no work until television came about, because they started replaying his movies and people loved his movies, and then they started casting him on TV shows, and they did a This Is Your Life and all that stuff. So these, in my opinion, are some of his best works. The General and Steamboat Bill Jr., and nowadays you can usually find them together on a DVD for like next to nothing. That. There he is with an elephant back there. There you can see the Keaton and Arbuckle pin. Buster Keaton Festival. There's Go West. And Joseph Schenck was not only his boss, but it was also his brother-in-law. So that kind of helps you get to do whatever you want when you have a studio boss that's also your brother-in-law. Here's his life mask. A great profile. Now he had problems with alcoholism, which were exactly the same problems his father had. When he and his mother took off to New York when he was 18, it was because his dad had become a pretty bad alcoholic. There, an English biscuit card, I've never heard of that. And the precursor to baseball cards, the cigarette cards. There's one of him. There's Buster doing a little stunt. Now, like I said, a lot of people felt that Buster did not have a great marriage at first, and in fact, his wife, when they got a divorce, not only wouldn't let him see the two boys, but changed their names to Talmadge. But here is Buster happy marrying his future wife, well, his wife after Eleanor in 1940. They look pretty happy. That's a great picture of Buster. And that one. You'll notice this is titled Keep Your Eye on the Kid. The story behind that is because that was part of the family act. The three Keatons, they would literally throw Buster around the stage. He was known as like the kid that couldn't get hurt. And there's footage of his dad picking him up by the arm and the leg and just throwing him against a wall, and he'd never get hurt. Oh, that's really cool. Wore Italian style. There he is, sitting with a monkey on his shoulder. What a great picture. Lucy, Desi, and Buster. Take a look at this picture. You can see Buster here in town. Right there in front of that little train depot that says Piqua. So here's a picture of James Karen, who played Buster Keaton in the movie. He's here visiting the town and the museum, and I have a friend that watches this channel, and she got to meet James Karen, and she said that he had a Buster Keaton hat that Buster had given him. He was good friends with Buster before he passed away. And now, sadly, James Karen passed away recently this year. If you might not be all that familiar with James Karen, I know him from being in Return of the Living Dead. He's the guy who works where they incinerate the bodies and everything, and ends up getting, well, turning into a zombie, or he's on the verge of turning into a zombie, and he crawls into the oven on his own and puts his wedding ring on the lever. That was James Karen. That's pretty cool. And he even got honored with a stamp. So right here it mentions that Buster returned to Piqua only once in his lifetime. Even though he was never a resident, we're very proud to claim a small part of this great actor's life. The residents of Piqua, Kansas. Then here's another movie about Buster's life starring Donald O'Connor, another fantastic actor. And this photo is of many of Buster's descendants. Many Keatons and Talmadges in there. Oh, and look at that painting, isn't that great? By John Dibbets in 1993. Down at the very bottom, it's signed by Eleanor, who we just saw the picture of her and Buster on their wedding day. 1994. Wow, take a look at that one. He's like a Venus de Milo there. Check these out, these are great. Some photos of Buster later on in his life. There he's playing a clown in the circus. Take a look at that. And then here we have a Buster Keaton Alka-Seltzer ad. Little marionette kind of deal named Speedy. Buster Keaton starring in The Balloonatic. Now here we have the childhood photos of Buster, and that's him with the shaved head. That was the family look for the performances in vaudeville. His dad, well, the mom didn't have it, but the dad had the same exact kind of monk head, almost, I would say, where part of the forehead is shaved away. So he would basically be the smaller version of his dad. There's his father, Joseph. There's a baby Buster. Very likely this would have been taken here in town. And there's Buster with his New Year's resolutions for 2000. And there's Buster and his family. And a very young Buster before they were shaving that big divot out of his head. Here we have Buster's hat and bow tie. Look at that advertisement back there, that's pretty cool. Joe, Myra, Buster, Jingles, Louise. Keaton, the 5 Keatons, says the fun family the devil will be to pay when Buster is 16. I mean, I would definitely say this museum is worth a stop if you're out here. Definitely stop and pay homage. Oh, that's interesting. It's a postcard featuring the 3 Keatons. And down here we have it written out to an Alva Keaton. And kind of a cool moment for me is this is a very, very well-known book. Anybody that loves Buster Keaton knows about this book, Silent Echoes. It really details all the filming locations. And during the dedication to the mural and everything last year, they did an entire weekend where they paid homage to Buster. And the author here, John Bankston, gave tours to everyone. Now, because of that, he couldn't attend one of the events that I filmed, which was the Talmadge family talking about Buster at Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And he actually wrote me an email and said, thank you for filming the events because you captured things that I wasn't able to see because I was giving tours, and you're helping to promote Buster to future generations. So I thought that was really, really cool that, you know, a book that I've loved for so long, I've probably had this book since 2005, that man would be, you know, that I would be able to contribute in some way to Buster's legacy. So here's a picture titled Keaton's Kennel, and it's Buster and his 2 sons, Bobby and Jimmy. I believe Jimmy was the one that was originally named Joseph, and his wife didn't want him to have that name and changed it. It's just Buster hanging out with a lion, no big deal. You know, definitely not a giant museum, but we do have to be thankful there's one that we can visit at all. Like I said, it's just, to me, it's a little sad that there's not more appreciation for him in Hollywood. I mean, so I'm signing the registry on the way out, and I'm noticing I'm the first one to be here in like over 2 weeks. So I think we've pretty much seen everything in the museum that we can see, but there's another stop in town where a location where one of the houses was. Sadly, the house isn't there, but there's an association to Buster there, and as long as we're here in town, I think we should go take a look. So let's roll. So I think it was definitely worth a stop. I highly recommend if you're around to come check it out. Like I said, there's only one in the world that we know of, so let's help keep this place around. Well, right here was where the old train depot was, and that's where the Keaton family resided for quite a while. Not a whole lot to see. They said that they tore down the building long ago, but this was the location of where it was, so that picture we saw inside the museum, that's where Buster would have been standing in front of. I mean, I know it's such a silly thing to be upset about, but it really does bum me out that there's not a billboard or anything coming into town that tells you this is the childhood birthplace of Buster Keaton, one of the greatest comedians of all time. Because when we were in the museum and we look at that guest book and see that nobody's been there in 2 weeks, and that the last person that was here was literally from the town that was about 7 minutes away, people just don't know that it's here. They just don't know when they're passing through that they're passing through a piece of history. So if anybody from this town is seeing this, please take, you know, some sort of initiative or something. Have a local artist paint something, just, you know, just something to acknowledge Buster's existence here and get people to visit that museum. Well, my friends, we're gonna call it a day here. We're gonna take off and drive another couple of hours and do another vlog today that you guys will see tomorrow. Have a great night, and thank you for watching. Go enjoy some Buster Keaton comedies. See y'all tomorrow. Goodbye.